What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we need to talk about Sundial stock and the potential that it has to be delisted from the NASDAQ, because as it stands, Sundial stock is currently trading below $1, and any stock listed on the NASDAQ has to maintain at least $1 in price to remain listed over the long term. So we're going to be talking about the timeline on which Sundial might get delisted on, as well as some other possibilities to potentially avoid the delisting. So let's start off taking a look at the Sundial chart and noticing, first of all, that yes, Sundial is absolutely below $1. In fact, if you look at a more long-term time frame, you'll see that they've been below $1 for quite a while at this point. So it really has been months since they were trading above $1. The last time they were trading above $1 was back in June. So June 24th was actually, it looks like, or June 28th, I think, was the last day that they were trading above $1. So it is unfortunate to see Sundial has faded away for quite a long time, and they're no longer meeting NASDAQ compliance. So as you can actually see here, the NASDAQ has Sundial Growers on its list of non-compliant companies, and the delisting risk is high for the company as long as its stock remains below $1 per share. So we're about to look at the list of non-compliant companies and see for ourselves that yes, Sundial is absolutely on this list. And so your next question is, well, how long until Sundial is delisted? You guys have probably heard the delisting is sometime in February. We're going to talk about exactly when in February it may be. Although we'll also note that it may not be in February, depending on some circumstances. So first off, according to the NASDAQ delisting rules, right, after receiving a deficiency notice, which it has, right, this date right here, the notification date, is the date that they were notified of their non-compliance, right? So after receiving a deficiency notice, a company has 180 calendar days to return to compliance. So a company warned about its shares' minimum bid price must achieve a closing price of $1 or more for 10 consecutive days during this period, all right? So Sundial basically, what this means, has 180 days from 8/9/2021 to maintain their compliance and get back above $1 share price. So what we can do is actually just go to a date calculator, type in 8/9/2021, and then add 180 days to that, and that gives us Saturday, February 5th, 2022. So that is essentially when they'll be delisted. Now, obviously, Saturday is not a market day, right? The markets are closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So this would probably be on February 7th or Monday when the market or when Sundial is actually delisted from the NASDAQ, if it comes to that, right? There are a couple of reasons why that might not be the case. One, obviously, they could meet NASDAQ listing requirements by maintaining a closing price of $1 or more for 10 consecutive trading days during this period, right? So first things first, I will point out that every time Sundial has been at risk of delisting in the past, if you look back over the past 2 years, every time they've been at risk of delisting, they have actually managed to maintain compliance, right? They have shot up in price. They've never been delisted from the NASDAQ, so they've always managed to come back and not actually get delisted. They've always moved up above $1 before that's actually happened. So all in all, I'm not super worried about Sundial. I think that they have some good things coming down the pipeline. They obviously have the share buyback. The Alcanna acquisition just went through. There's a lot of catalysts that could be moving them up, especially regarding legalization, but that's more so for later this year. So there are some catalysts that could be moving them up in the near future. They could potentially get above $1 before this February 7th date that they may get delisted on. However, even if they don't, there are a couple of other things that we need to take into account regarding the potential for delisting, right? So there is the additional grace period rule. So if a company with a minimum market value of $1 million in shares satisfies the other listing requirements besides being above $1 in price, it may receive a second cure period of 180 calendar days. So that the NASDAQ could technically grant Sundial another cure period of 180 calendar days. To receive this, the company must notify the NASDAQ of its intent to correct the deficiency, and the NASDAQ may exercise its discretion in determining whether it believes the company can cure the deficiency or not. Now, I think that in the case of Sundial, the NASDAQ would probably believe them, right? Because they have so much cash on the balance sheet, and they already have buybacks issued, or rather announced that they certainly could raise their price above $1 if they absolutely needed to. You know, they could do a whole lot of buybacks if push really came to shove, and that's what they wanted to do. They could also do a reverse share split. There are a bunch of options that they have to get above $1. Obviously, we don't want to see a reverse share split. We'd much rather see them raise their price due to buybacks, but there are possibilities out there. So that's another thing that they have going for them potentially. Maybe we could just calculate real quick on this calculator 360 days out and see when that would be. If they do end up getting that additional grace period, that would actually bring us to August 4th of 2022. So if they end up getting that grace period, then that would be the new delisting date. However, if they don't get that grace period, right, there's always the delisting letter. So if a company fails to comply with the minimum requirements during the first grace period or any second grace period, the NASDAQ will issue a delisting letter to the company. As with the deficiency notice, the company must notify the investing public of the delisting letter within 4 business days by filing an 8-K with the SEC, and the company can then appeal its delisting to the hearings panel. So this is very important. If Sundial decides to appeal the delisting, once a company receives a NASDAQ delisting letter, it has 7 days to formally request a hearing. So there would be some additional time that we have with Sundial before they actually get delisted. But this request effectively halts the delisting process until the panel renders a decision. Now, there's no telling exactly how long that hearing could be, right? It could be a couple of days, it could be a couple of weeks, but essentially what we're saying is Sundial is not in an immediate danger of being delisted, because at the very least, they have 7 days to request a hearing, and then that hearing delays or halts the delisting process indefinitely, right? Until the panel actually renders a decision. Now, maybe they'll just render a decision very quickly, but at the very least, there is some time from early February when Sundial is first at risk of delisting. So it's not necessarily the most urgent issue, right? Obviously, there are a couple of different ways this could go. They could just get above $1 before February. They could appeal for a grace period of another 180 days and just give themselves some extra time to get there. They could also use the delisting letter and the hearing process to delay the delisting process as well. So there are a bunch of different situations that Sundial has to look forward to, where it's potentially not going to be delisted in February, but it is notable that there is the potential for it to be delisted. And obviously that's a risk. And if that does happen, then what will happen to your shares if you're holding them on a brokerage like Robinhood is essentially, according to my understanding, you would be able to still sell those shares if you wanted, but you wouldn't be able to buy additional shares. So that's my understanding of what would happen if Sundial was delisted. Now, we are going to talk about another slightly negative piece of news. It's not the worst, but before we do, we are going to just show off the channel analytics. We currently have 9,600 subscribers. We're trying to grow to 10,000. So if you guys want some additional Sundial news like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 10,000, like I said, so we're only about 350 away. So any additional subscribers would be much appreciated. Feel free to join the family and get more Sundial news. Now, this legalization news, right? So this is unfortunately, like I said, somewhat negative news. Not the worst, though. So Florida cannabis activists have officially turned their attention to putting adult use legalization on the state's 2024 ballot rather than 2022 as previously planned. So basically, this is just news that Florida is essentially delaying putting legalization on the state's ballot for 2 more years. Now, this is bad because we are hoping to see wide sweeping legalization across the United States during the course of 2022. In fact, we want it at the federal level as well. And the more places that actually end up legalizing it at the state level or the city level, then the more pressure there will be put on the federal government to actually legalize cannabis in 2022, potentially before the midterm elections, which is really what we're hoping for. So this is a slight jink in the plans, right? Ideally, this wouldn't have happened. They were originally planning for 2022, but now it's looking like 2024, at least in Florida. So overall, not the worst news. It could have been much worse than this, obviously. I mean, all things considered, the fact that they're still going to try to get it on the ballot in 2024 is really good to hear. The reason that this happened is because they faced a bunch of hurdles while they were trying to get it on this year's ballot, including this, the state Supreme Court rejecting the language of an earlier version of their petition. So there were some hurdles stopping them essentially from getting it on the ballot in 2022. So we are looking forward to seeing that in Florida in 2024. But hopefully we're going to see wide-ranging federal legalization potentially in 2022. That's what we're hoping for, and hopefully Sundial won't be delisted before then. So other than that, guys, keep in mind, none of this is financial advice. I'm not recommending that anyone buy or sell any shares of stock. I'm just letting you guys know some of the news for Sundial, breaking down the delisting, as well as letting you know my opinion on the stock. So other than that, guys, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.